Oh, I am Reverend Karen Lewis. It is my first time back on the platform on this campus in 4 weeks. And when I walked through those doors, I feel the same way. You know, when I walked through those doors, I was reminded of that feeling when we walk into a place that has been loved up so much, where we are welcome just the way we are. Because this organization, this organism that is the New Vision Center, knows so well what it is, a beacon of love, that it can open its arms wide and welcome us in. If we are on top of the world, if we are struggling, if we are new to this walk, if we have been on a spiritual path for many, 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 many years, that is what makes this place so special. It's each and every one of us who has taken the time to give of ourselves to this idea in the mind and heart of the divine that is the New Vision Center for Spiritual Living. That was not at all what I thought I would talk about, but it happened. It happened. I am so grateful to be back. I am so grateful to be here. I am so excited to share with you some of the things that I have realized on this vacation, on this trip, and to deepen together with all of us. And we have been on a journey, have we not? All of us as an organization, as a community, we have had this theme, this annual theme that comes right out of our surveys that we ask everyone, what is it that you would like to deepen into? And then we create this annual theme, and the theme this year has been a spiritual hero's journey. And I thought Reverend Leslie did an amazing job last week as she walked us through the birth and rebirth. I mean, that was powerful, was it not? Yes. Yes. I was so reminded of that moment, and I'm probably more speaking to the female side of the organization of the community, but I was so reminded that there's that call when the contraction comes that asks us to trust and surrender. And isn't that the same thing on our spiritual journey? I don't know about you, but there have been so many times where I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to step into that call that has been placed upon my heart and be that I saw, that I felt, that I was called for to be. I don't know how to do it. And I was reminded to surrender. For there is a part within each and every one of us that is greater than we are. And that is the part, that is the power that knows. That is the power, I believe, that has placed that desire upon our heart, that has placed that call upon our heart. And how wonderful it is that we can come together here on Sunday mornings in classes, in connections, and affirm it for one another if we temporarily forget that. That is the blessing of spiritual community. So my talk today is called A Place to Pause and Reflect. And it is interesting to think about how different this thing called life, we are all have been given life force is coming through us, and how very differently that is expressed in the world. Every time when I travel, I am noticing how different people live. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever looked at someone else and said, what an interesting choice that this beloved is doing with their gift? What an interesting choice to choose to live here, there, this way. And I think this time, as we have been going through this spiritual journey that has for sure brought up a lot of things, because we are so connected to the community through our congregant care team, we hear what's happening in individual lives. So there's a lot of things that are unearthed, good, challenging. I believe that it behooves us to take a moment and pause and reflect. What we recognize then, that power that we speak about, God, Spirit, divine intelligence, the universe, whatever we call it, when we pause and reflect, we feel it. It is always there. There's no place where that divine intelligence is not. And yet, it is up to us to slow down enough to listen. And so let's breathe together and recognize that all that is needed for myself, for each one here now, is already here. It is right here. How far can we open our hearts? How much can we allow that truth to make itself known, just not in words, because words are so limiting, but in that feeling tone? Right here, in this moment, I invite you to allow the divine to make itself known to you with this very next breath. For you see, there's nothing that I can say that makes you realize that the divine is right where you are. Nothing. Though I will try. However, the moment where you let go of whatever story you have about why you are not enough or why you're not where you meant to be or any of those things, the moment we drop that idea, we are caught by the infinite. Perhaps by someone giving us a hug. Perhaps the infinite is expressing today by some sentence that you hear somewhere from myself, from another. Perhaps it is a song choice, a line in the songs that Reverend Glenn is singing. Perhaps it's just a sense of I am not alone. Right where I am, the divine is. See if you feel comfortable saying that together with me. Right where I am, the divine is. And then listen. Listen to board of directors in our heads. You know, those critical voices. The ones that say, you got to give more. The ones that say, who do you think you are? Or whatever your version of that voice is. I so want to have that magical wand, that one thing that pulls you down into the reality with a capital R that says who you are is perfect, is whole, is complete, nothing missing, nothing needs to be added. I had a slide that showed us where we are on the spiritual hero's journey, but I think we got that. I think we got that. We have been so wonderfully immersed in this powerful way of looking at how we can answer the call to be all that we meant to be. And yet, today, I invite us to pause. The next slide is a place where I was just traveling to, and it has become my pause button, my individual pause button. Not because I have to be there in order to find peace, but because when I look at that image, it allows myself to let go of any idea that I am not enough and to open myself up to feel Spirit. The love that is present here. The love that is always available. When we are ready to not tell Spirit, this is how I want love to show up for me now. I had a list this long, you know, the dark hair and the body and everything. And it is once we let go of that limiting idea of how love is supposed to show up and receive it from where we are being supplied, that life changes. It happens when we allow to slow down. And breathe and know. The other thing that really helped me these last 4 weeks to deepen and anchor into our teaching is to take a look at the 4 agreements. Now, when I say the 4 agreements, how many people know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And about the same amount online, I can see it, yes. So the 4 agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz is this wonderful teacher. He grew up as a son of with 13 siblings, and his parents and his grandparents were shamans. And so he was like, everybody expected him to continue in that lineage, and he said, no, I'm going to become a medical doctor. So he became a medical doctor and then had a near-death experience at an early age, 22, I believe he was, and he turned to the Toltec wisdom and came up and coined these 4 agreements. And here is the construct around it. The idea is that each one of us has made agreements with life. In our language here, in the science of mind, we call those beliefs, right? Those are our agreements. We have certain beliefs. We might believe that good fortune only happens to people who grew up on the other side of the tracks. We might have the belief that in order to achieve what I want in life, I have to be a certain way. So we call those things beliefs. In the 4 agreements, he refers to them as agreements that we made with life. And the whole work of the 4 agreements is then to replace limiting beliefs or agreements with these 4 agreements that really, really serve us in becoming free, in being who we are, without making any excuses. So I would like to go through those 4 agreements. And I invite you to come onto the journey with me, especially if you already know the agreements. Especially if you're familiar with them. Let's see if we can together come up with some different angles to look at them. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. Now we know that here in our teaching, our word is really what creates our reality. When we speak of spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer, we go to the universe and say, this is who I am, and this is what I call forth in my life. And then we hold that space. Be impeccable with your word also means be careful to not use your word against yourself or anybody else. Because we truly are only one. So if I use my word against anybody, I use the word against me. Because I'm one of the one. We often hear about people say, don't gossip. But I think it goes deeper. It goes deeper. It goes into being mindful what I think about others, how I judge others, how fast I draw conclusions. And it brings us to the second agreement, which is don't take anything personally. Really? And here is why that particular agreement is so freeing. Because it makes us realize that we are empowered to live our own lives. I do me, you do you. And of course, people are judging. You have any questions about that? Give me a call sometime. You know. And it's interesting to me what people are judging. And we can't change anybody else. The only power we have is to change ourselves. So, don't take anything personally means realize that whatever that person is saying to me has a lot more to do with them than it has to do with me. Now let's breeze that one in, because it's good to talk about that on a Sunday morning when we're sitting at New Vision Center and we are safe in this space where we are all loved, right? How can we anchor into that the next time someone tells us what their opinion about us is? How we disappointed them? How we didn't show up the way they expected us to show up? I want you to have my voice in your head when that happens. that says, don't take anything personally. And that brings us to the third agreement that will help us live a more harmonious life. And that is, don't make any assumptions. Don't make any assumptions. I believe it starts with the realization that I cannot know what another is going through, what challenges, what demons one is fighting. I can truly not know what's happening in the person that cuts me off in traffic that makes them be so unaware of the rest of the world. And it goes farther. It goes to the point where somebody says something to me, and I am willing to say, tell me more about that. I can clearly see that I upsetted you. Upsetted you? Is that a word? Yeah. Thank you. Help me understand. What was it that I did? So for everybody who doesn't know, these are the alarms that are going off because there's a flash flood going on. We are in Phoenix and monsoon time, so that's what's happening. Help me understand. What did I do? How did you hear what I said that upset you so much? It takes guts to do that. So much easier to say, yeah. And then the fourth agreement is always do your best. And what he's referring to in that is the first three agreements are really about us, right? They are about how can I become a better, perhaps more harmonious with the divine flow in my life. But the fourth agreement is our action in the world. How do I take this out into the world and be who I came here to be? A loving presence. A safe space to land. Kind. When we connect with a place where we can pause and reflect, let us remember those four agreements. So then when I go out into the world, I can show up how I deeply inside want to show up. And so our assignment for this next week is really to find our personal pause button. It might be a conversation with someone who deeply loves and cares for us. It might be reaching out to your practitioner or minister. It might be making the phone call that has been on your mind to make. It might be sitting in silence, listening, pausing. Allowing the love, the power that is everywhere present to make itself known. And how grateful I am that we have an opportunity to do that right now. I invite you to close your eyes, breathe into your heart space. I invite the practitioners and the ministers of this teaching to rise and hold this consciousness of love, of peace, of harmony, of grace. As we build this container of love together, we recognize that the eternal loving kindness, the eternal grace is right where we are. And so we consciously bring ourselves into this place of the Most High, recognizing that who I am is the divine made manifest. Who I am is a spark of infinite intelligence. And as we allow this love to permeate our entire being and radiate out from us, it is easy to see that we can hold the highest and best for ourselves, for those that we love and care for that are close to us, and allowing that ripple of love and light to expand even more. And so I claim for every beloved in the sound of my voice, peace and harmony, an ability to hear the divine call, and to feel the empowerment of moving forward and bringing it into manifestation. And naturally, we feel gratitude bubbling up, such a gratefulness for all that is, for one another, for our ability to be here now. Thank you, life. And we let it be. We place this word into universal law. We call it good. And so it is.